All right, so the art of nonviolent communication. This is something that, well, let's preface it by saying this first. There's a ton of violent communication that goes on daily. We're just not attuned to what it is that we're speaking, we're saying, that becomes violent. So you see a photo up here of two people, one with guns in their mouths, and they're speaking possibly violent to one another, okay? With that said, I'm going to get into actually defining it, but I first want to start off with a quotation, which, hold on, because now these are the sheets that I didn't want. Oh, here we go. That was the sheet I didn't want. Okay. We often don't acknowledge our violence because we are ignorant about it. We assume we are not violent because our vision of violence is one of fighting, killing, beating, and wars, the type of things the average individuals don't do. Nonviolence means allowing the positive within you to emerge, be dominated by love, respect, understanding, appreciation, compassion, and concern for others, rather than be self-centered and selfish, greedy, hateful, prejudiced, suspicious, and aggressive attitudes that dominate our thinking. If we change ourselves, we change our world, and changing ourselves begins with changing our language and methods of communication. So you may hear me say this a lot, that almost all the things that we do, even inside of the gym and outside of the gym, really revolve around our communication with ourselves and with one another. And the more that we become clearer on what that language actually is for ourselves, the more we can actually impact the way we feel and have our needs met, and speak what is alive in us and understand what is alive in the other person. Okay? That's the preface of this. So violent communication doesn't necessarily mean that we're hurting someone physically, but emotionally, which then can bleed into physically. Okay? Sounds grim, but it's not. Okay? So there's two foundational principles of nonviolent communication. Nonviolent communication was not discovered, but really promoted by a man of the name of Marshall Rosenberg. So what he had stated was, we have to understand what's alive in us, okay, which I'll get into. Two, what we can do to make life more wonderful, okay? It sounds kind of like a child, like playing in a yard, like, oh, what can we do to heighten his experience? But it really is that, because all of our unmet needs or unmet demands really become spoken words that become violent. And we don't realize how we can choose certain words, say certain things that will create a violent action, okay? So, it's important to discuss how we got here, right? So, how we got here is, there's a guy by the name of Walter Wink who wrote a book called The Powers That Be. And he said right around 5,000 years ago, we discovered that, or we decided that man was evil, okay? And if man was evil, how do we correct man's issues, right? How do we do it nowadays? And feel free, this is where I was debating whether or not I wanted to do a more of a sit down or presentation. So this is where you can jump in, and I'm going to state it for you. We normally think in terms of dominance, right? If man is evil, how do we correct him? Throw him in jail, right? And so then the game emerges. It becomes from this natural giving to who's right, right? What game do you think we've been playing for the past 5,000 years? Natural giving or who's right? Who's right, right? And how does that work out? You know it in situations, right?
Somebody has to be wrong.
Exactly. So if somebody has to be wrong, someone has to be right. A big P word ends with punished, right? And the person who then is the winner is the person who is right, correct? So natural giving, okay, seeks to continue the flow of compassion from one to another, okay? It gives, and it's leading to understanding. who is right ends with the loser being punished and the winner being rewarded. So, in addition, in our culture, we are then forced to look at one another as the dominance, or the one who is actually the one who is right is the better or good person. Does that make sense? Yes? Right? Your kids, myself, we watch shows all the time, or TV shows where the hero ends up doing what? Killing or beating up or punching the other guy, the bad guy, right? And we have a culture that's perpetuated on this idea of who is right.
By force.
Yeah, and I'm here to tell you, and so is Marshall Rosenberg, if he was alive, that those are things that need to be eliminated from our society, because it's just perpetuating this idea of who's right, right? I don't want you to say right, I want you to understand that if that is something that you understand as something very well in tune with nonviolent communication, we will start to see that there are needs being met and unmet on both sides, okay? Yeah, and I wrote a note down. We see it so much that this violence has permeated into our everyday language, and most of all to the ones we care about most. We're so violent. Okay, so next I'm going to discuss Jackal Language, okay? I'm going to give you an example, okay? You have mom and the son, okay? So mom says, "Why did you do that?" And then, "Say you're sorry." They go, "I'm sorry." "You're not really sorry. Tell me, why'd you do that?" And then he starts crying. "I'm really sorry." Do you see what happened there? Right? The child is saying it's sorry because the mother is using this language of a jackal. A jackal is someone who's close to the ground and is only thinking in their head. Okay? We're inherently moralistic. We're always demarcating right from wrong, abnormal from normal, good and bad. So now you take it on the road, right? Someone cuts you off on the road, right? What's the normal reaction? Hit the window and go, "Idiot!" Because why? I'm going to instill change in the world by calling him an idiot. You see that? Right? I'm going to instill change in the world by calling him an idiot. See the difference, right? I wrote down, which would then be followed by the person repenting and saying, "I was wrong, sir. I will correct the error of my ways." Have you ever seen that happen before? No, right? But we are doing this jackal language all the time, as opposed to the opposite end, which would be a giraffe language. But you can start to see, what are we actually getting after by engaging in jackal language? We are getting after that violent communication, which is, "I'm right, say you're sorry. Feel bad about why you did what you did so that you can tell me I'm right." Does that make sense? Or I'm right within my framework of what is right. Correct? Right?
I'll say right.
Say,
You said right?
oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, so I wrote, you can even go on to school, which I thought about becoming a licensed jackal practitioner. And then when you have the same issue occur, right, and you're going to know why I said licensed jackal practitioner, because then when someone cuts me off on the road, I'm going to roll down the window and say, "Psychopath!" You see the difference? Now I'm diagnosing somebody in their actions as a psychopath, right? Ignorant asshole, right? Now I'm diagnosing and telling him what he is or what he has become, okay? But it still doesn't work. Mike and I talk a lot about this because Mike speaks German, but there's this idea of our language being a vehicle for us to also protect ourselves from what we are reliable and liable for. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. So in Germany, the one of the main generals, Adolf Eichmann, was, when he was in Jerusalem being tried for the Holocaust, where he was very responsible for shipping off millions of Jews to their death, right? He said, well, I did what I had to do because it was Amtssprachen, right? So Amt means office, and Sprachen means language. So it's more like a bureaucratic language, okay? It was a language that they developed that left them without the ability to have culpability, without any responsibility. So you see how our language that can become developed from ourselves can actually allow us to have no responsibility for our actions. Does that make sense? Right? So they called it a bureaucratic language. Why did you do that? The boss made me. Do you see that? Why do you feel that way? Because, they told me to. Why is that the policy? Oh, it's the company policy. Why did we kill the Jew? He goes, oh, that was policy. I didn't do anything wrong. And Eichmann, when he was tried, he still never admitted that he was responsible for killing anybody because it was no responsibility. So you can see how Jackal language can also relinquish responsibility. Okay? All right. Make sense? Yeah. The next one is the giraffe language. Okay? So you have the jackal and then you have the giraffe. Okay? The giraffe is a tall, domineering figure that sees far into the future. Okay? Not more metaphorical, right? Very, very tall. Sees very, very way out into the future. It has the biggest heart of any land animal. So that's the language that we want to actually use when we're speaking, is the language of the heart. We talk about, so when we talk about language of the heart, we're talking about speaking what we feel, right? And for most of us, it's a difficult thing to talk about the way we feel because we're uncomfortable with it, right? And why are we uncomfortable with it? Because we've never had the opportunity to, because we've been in Jackal educations our whole life, right? Brian, why didn't you do your homework? You should have done your homework. Or, Lee, why'd you do this? We're always trying to judge, make you wrong, make you right, or seem wrong, denial, guilt, shame, etc. Giraffe language, nobody's ever spoken to you in like a giraffe, right? And then there's a funny example of this. I was watching an interaction between a seminar on nonviolent communication, and it was funny because this woman came out of the audience and she said, but there's just some things that have to be, my daughter doesn't do something, that just has to get done. Do you hear, what do you hear? Like jackal language, right? Like it has to get done. Responsibility, I have to do it, okay? So the speaker goes, well, okay, well, what do you mean? What has to get done? Well, I can think of plenty of things, she says. Cooking dinner. I hate cooking dinner, but I have to do it. Right? So he goes like this, but you have to do it. He goes, no, you don't have to do it. Like, think about this for yourself, right? You don't have to do it. You're choosing to do it, right? So he goes, I think if you don't enjoy doing it and it doesn't bring joy to your life, right? Remember, what we can do to make life more wonderful. If it is not improving joy in your life, Hazy, can you, the clock's here. Yeah. If it's not bringing joy into your life, don't do it, right? You have the choice. So she goes, okay. So she goes home and she tells her kids and her family, I'm not cooking dinner today. So 2 weeks later, they interviewed the woman again, and the kids now came to the seminar, okay? And they said, Marshall, I just want to let you know. He goes, my mom is the mother that you told not to cook anymore or choose what she wants to do. And he goes, okay, how did that work out? And he goes, honestly, we couldn't be happier. He goes, she would come home, I mean, not for nothing, her food was terrible. She would come home and then complain about it, and then we'd have to hear her complaining about it.
And then we have to eat it.
And we have to. So do you see the foundations that we're caught with ourselves in? We're caught within ourselves of having to do it. Umsprachen, right? Having to do it. I can't not do it. I have to do it. No, you're choosing to do it. But understand that all of those needs that are not being met by you, not doing it or doing it, has an effect on everybody else, and it has to be communicated. Okay. So, are you guys getting started to see the framework of nonviolent communication? Yes? No? Okay. Okay. So, now, this may work a little bit weird, but, or be a little weird. So now, I want you guys to think of a situation where someone is behaving in a way you don't like, okay? Think of one thing this person does that you don't like, okay? This is the first step in engaging in nonviolent communication, okay? It's called observation. We don't do a very good job of observing, okay? And if you guys would help me, you could make up somebody, okay? You could make up a person that is doing something that doesn't bring joy into your life. What is it that they are doing?
I could say the example that I said before.
What is
it? Just now I'm so cautious about what words I'm using.
But see, you're laughing because I know, because it's gonna come. I'm gonna ask you too, and it's like getting clear on the observation of what they are doing is the most important aspect of nonviolent communication, because if we get this wrong, nothing works.
So, for example, washing the dishes, I dislike, and I don't know how to word it. You
No.
teach me
So wait.
later.
So you said you dislike. Tell me.
When I ask my husband to do the dishes and he doesn't.
So okay. So the observation is what then?
That's hard.
The observation is not doing the dishes.
Yeah.
Or the thing that the person doesn't do is not do the dishes. Great. What is something that someone does that you don't like? Not anything. It could be anything, but it has to be a specific observation. That's why it's clear to start thinking about these things. What's something that, if you could yell out?
Let's make
I
it
don't know,
engaging.
if you're trying to have a conversation with someone and they're just out there not paying attention to what you're talking about.
So that's more, so this is why I want you to know. That's more of a diagnosis and an evaluation. See what you said there? Not paying attention. They might be paying attention, but they're not expressing a need that you have for attention. So what are they doing specifically? This person, call him Peter.
Oh, I don't know, I guess not making like eye contact.
Yes, that's an observation. So you see the observation, great.
People who greet you negatively don't have good comments for you.
Greet you negatively.
Yeah.
That's an evaluation, because why? Greeting you negatively might be positively for them.
Yeah.
So give me another example. It's tough, and that's why I want you to realize, like,
Or the observation that led you to the evaluation.
To the
Yeah.
evaluation.
Said something.
yeah, so tell me, what is it that someone says?
Mhm.
That would be the example.
All right, just example.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
gonna hang up my.
Sure.
Not like my haircut.
No. Oh, not liking the haircut.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah,
great.
yeah.
Okay, so
Oh,
great.
not haircut,
Someone
yeah.
says,
It's
I don't like your haircut. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So are we starting to see what observations are? That's why it's very clear in understanding what the observations are in terms of what is the person actually doing? Not doing the dishes, not making a comment about my hair, right? Not giving me eye contact.
They have
Not
more than 12
arriving
items
on-
in their basket at the checkout.
Say it again.
They have more than 12 items in their basket.
Yes, more than 12 items in their basket.
They're rude.
Yeah. Well,
I know.
That's an
Rude
observation.
is an evaluation, a judgment, right? So arriving late, right? That is an observation. Not making the bed is an observation. Not putting their clothes away.
I forgot that one.
Observation, right?
One and one?
Right? Not doing the did I say not doing the dishes?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're stating them all. Go
So
on.
we think of it in this framework too, that by us observing, we should automatically teach them too. So the two things you should never do is you're never going to teach anybody something, and you're never going to allow them to learn something new or change them. Okay? That sounds kind of pessimistic, but you're not there to teach them. You are not there to change them. We are trained, I wrote down, we are trained to see enemy images, judgments and evaluations, diagnoses. Okay? To observe without evaluating is the highest form of intelligence. That's from Krishnamurti, who was a philosopher. So think about that statement. To observe without evaluation is the highest form of intelligence. Because what are we doing? When we see not paying attention, right? He doesn't care. You see how we just, or she doesn't care. We just jump to an evaluation. Whereas they might believe that they are actually paying attention. Whether or not they are or not, that is a need that has to be addressed. But we have to get very, very clear on what the observation is. All we are ever saying, I wrote down, is please or thank you. That's all the words we are ever saying in this life are.
I'm sorry.
What?
And sorry.
Well, please or thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry is like a thank you when you think about it, right? Sorry is like a thank you because you're expressing a feeling that the other person may have a need for them to say, sorry, right? Very easy to express. Any evaluations of another's wrongness is a tragic expression of an unmet need. So I'm using your example because it's there. Same with yours, Mike, right? I hear an unmet need in there. I hear an unmet need in there. I hear an unmet need, right? Okay, so here's some observations from evaluation, okay? John was angry with me yesterday for no reason. No, he had a reason compared to John told me he was angry. That's an observation. John pounded his fist on the table. Observation. My father is a good man. To you, to somebody else, he might be a bad man. For the last 25 years, my father has given me 1/10 of his salary to charity. Observation. Janice, you work too much. Define too much. You never call me on time, or, well, you never. That's another observation. You always call me, when I don't have time. Again, evaluation on them knowing that you don't have time. Henry is aggressive. Evaluation. Henry hits his sister when she switched the television channel. That was a tongue twister. You are a responsible child. Again, an evaluation. You're going to find out here that there are no such things as praises, appreciations, gratitude, because all of these words, what do?
Judgments.
Yeah, they're judgments, right? They're also putting out there that the reason why Brian's kids are going to do what they did because they're going to get a reward from dad. The reason why I did the dishes was because I wanted to have a kiss. The reason why this person paid attention to me because I wanted to go out to dinner. The reason why this person, because I want to feel, like I'm the best man in the world. You know what I mean? They should know that I'm in a rush to get somewhere that they shouldn't have 13 items on there at the 12 item, right? Be careful. I fear that you could fall. See the difference of, what are you doing? Right? He is a poor soccer player, evaluation. He has not scored a goal in 20 games. He needs some practice. Okay. So now, imagine you were talking directly to the person and express how you feel when the person acts in the way you described previously. Use this form. When you do
not wash the dishes, I feel angry.
Awesome. That's giraffe language. Now say something.
Oh, what, from before?
Yeah, use that example.
When you do not pay attention to me.
Pay attention is
When you do
evaluation. You said,
make eye contact with me. I feel Unappreciated?
Okay, unappreciated is a good word, but unappreciated is another evaluation.
It's not
It's okay. It's totally okay. This is why I want you guys to trip up on this, because we're all here together. We're not here to judge anybody. We're all here together because
I practiced before.
unappreciated. We've been doing this for a
I've been
while.
doing this for a while, so that's why.
Unappreciated is a word that's an evaluation. They might feel that they are appreciating you. So
I feel bad.
be a little bit more specific, because bad again is
I feel upset.
upset. Perfect. I'm calling on you now. When you do, you can make up something.
Not throw the garbage out.
Okay, when you do not throw the garbage out, I feel.
Bad.
Okay, mad. You feel angry. Okay.
When you make comments about my hair. When you negative comments in my hair.
Okay, when you make negative.
Comments in my hair.
Negative is a tough word.
Yeah.
Because they might think it's positive.
Yeah.
When you make a comment about my hair,
Huh?
that is, I guess I would put it in this framework. When you make a comment about my hair that seeks to, negatively or cause harm,
Yeah.
I feel.
Belittled.
Yeah. Okay. Belittled.
Yeah.
Tough word, because that's also an evaluation.
Oh, yeah.
Angry. I'm gonna pull up another.
Upset.
Upset. Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna make one too after here for you.
So when people,
Yeah. When
Uh,
Tiffany at the checkout line.
yeah, when someone has more than a dozen items in their basket on the express line, I feel upset is an easy word.
Yeah, you can use it. It's a good word to use, because upset characterizes the anger, frustration, sadness.
Hmm.
There are specific feelings, which I'm going to pull up on the next slide. So don't worry. This is all. Oh, you want to say?
Yes.
Yeah.
When you do not respond to my texts, I feel disconnected.
Disconnected is. So, what do you feel by being disconnected?
Out of touch, sad.
Okay, sad. Perfect. Awesome. And
So
I'm not
so
challenging.
I feel,
Yes.
right, seeks to identify an emotion. So
Yes.
disconnected is not an emotion.
S-
Disappointed.
Nope.
Or frustrated.
I'm gonna give you
is
an
not
example,
emotion,
right?
Right. So
When you yell, okay, I feel stressed. That is saying that. You know why? Tell me why. Why?
Yeah, because you're making me responsible for your stress,
That's one.
but
There's
also-
two other reasons.
well, you want her to feel bad about stress. You want her to you want to hold her accountable for your stress.
Yes?
And you want
Okay,
her
so
to
maybe
learn
there's
lessons,
two more
change,
than that.
and
Okay, what else? What about the word yell?
Yell is a.
Subjective.
Yeah, it's subjective, right? Yell. When you yell, she might think that she's speaking fine.
Yeah, is that how my
I
brain-
feel stressed. Stressed.
Are you yelling now?
Stress is not an actual word that is giving me an emotion, right? But we do this all the time to people and the loved ones. When you do this, I get so stressed. No, you
You
don't
stress
get
me out.
stressed. You stress me out, right?
Stress me.
You don't get stressed. There's a feeling beneath the stress that is making you feel the stress. Make sense? So now I can say, when you speak in a tone of voice that is loud, right? That is loud, or more than is at very, very high level, right? Or pitch. No, but really, I'm not kidding. I'm being really, really serious. When you speak at a level that is at a high pitch, I feel, sad. I feel angry, right? So now we understand that. When you don't take out the garbage, I feel upset, okay? Now that person knows what's alive in Brian, that Brian then, which we'll see, has a need for something. Okay, so watch. So we distinguish the expressions of actual feelings from words and statements that describes thoughts, opinion, assessment, interpretation. Distinguish feelings from thoughts, opinion, interpretation. I feel that you should know better. See what that's saying? That's also saying a judgment on, I know better and that you should know that. I expected more from you.
Well, we use the term,
Yes.
I feel,
Yep.
but it isn't an I feel, an emotion, it's a I think this.
Yes.
But we use the word
Absolutely.
I feel.
Yes.
And it clouds, it's obscure, that
Yes.
it's not.
Yep. It creates distance between, it makes the thinking become up here as opposed to from here. Okay? I feel frustrated. I feel it is useless. Frustrated is right on the borderline. Anyway, I'll just say, I feel scared when you say that. Okay? I feel you don't love me.
Yeah.
That's a very difficult one. I'll do a little segue on that. So we talk a lot about love, and it's something that we are so unclear about, even with our spouses, the people we care about, extended family. So you have a husband and a wife, right? The husband goes, you don't love me. And the woman goes, what do you mean I don't love you? He goes, well, I feel you don't love me. And she goes, well, what do you mean about that I don't feel, I don't love you? What do you mean specifically? We just don't do anything anymore. And she goes, no, I want to know what you mean by you feel that I don't love you. What is it that you mean? Because when you're speaking about love, this is the woman talking, and not necessarily, I'm just putting it out here. When you speak about love, what do you mean? Do you mean the feeling of love or the action of love? Because the feeling of love changes, just like normal feelings change, right? From day to day. And he goes, no, the feeling of love. He goes, do you love me right now? And she goes, no. He goes, well, it's such a funny example. So she goes, okay, well, tell me what you want me to how do you want me to love you? You should know. So you see how we're always getting caught in this? See, for giraffes, love is an action. Feelings change, okay? The action of love is much more in tune with having those needs met fully from that person. That's the action of acting in love, okay? Just wanted a touch point on that. I am upset because I think you are annoying me purposely, okay? I feel I am being unkind to them. Unkind, tough word to assess. I feel regret around how I am behaving towards them. Feeling. Okay, these are interpretations, not feelings. We confuse them with feelings. Abandoned, abused, attacked, betrayed, boxed in, bullied, cheated, coerced, cornered, diminished, distrusted, interrupted, intimidated, manipulated, misunderstood, neglected, pressured, provoked, put down, rejected, unappreciated, unheard, unseen, unsupported, unwanted, used. I feel used. That's a tough one. Yeah, I can give you another example. There was a time that Marshall Rosenberg gave this example in one of his books. Was he came into a school, and the school administrators, the teachers were having a really rough time with the principal. And he brought all the teachers in together, and he goes, okay, can you tell me what's going on with the principal? And a gentleman got up and he goes, yeah, what does he do that you guys don't enjoy? And he goes, principal's got a big mouth. And he's like, but do you see how we do this all the time, right? That's why it was even tough for us to talk about and observe what we see. He didn't say to the guy, how big is his mouth? He said, what is the observation that he's doing? Oh, he talks too much. Again, judgment, too much. It can't be that he talks. What it ended up being was that he always story tells during their meetings and forces them to be late for their other work that they have to get done. Right? Okay, so some feelings when needs are not fulfilled. Scared, frightened, fearful, afraid, impatient, anguished, disturbed, embarrassed, ashamed, guilty, overwhelmed, shocked, surprised, sad, hurt, envious, jealous, etc. Some feelings when needs are fulfilled: optimistic, excited, energetic, eager, hopeful, confident, positive, trustful, amazed. I'll send this to you guys. I'll send it to you guys. So just wanted to get it out there. So the next one I want us to do is connect our feeling with our need, okay? So we do not attribute responsibilities for our feelings to the other person, okay? And we tend to do this a lot because at the root of our feelings, there is a need. So I wrote down in here, needs give us the most power with people and increase people's giving. We don't want power over. So I want you guys to think about this. When you do, this is a new statement, right? I don't know why I don't have it on here. When you do what I described, I feel blank, as I've expressed, because I am needing more or I am in need of. See if you can understand what need of yours is not being met. So, when you do X, I feel as I've described because I am needing this. Okay? I know that's a tough ask. I'm very well aware of that, but you'll see the difference in this statement now.
When you don't do the dishes, I feel angry because there is a need in me to have everything in place. I don't know.
Okay, yeah, no, that's cool. Everything in place,
Like, I have a need in me to come to a home that is clean, or,
clean is,
okay, clean is.
I'll tell you, you have a need you have a need for the house to be
clean?
to be clean, to be in order, any of those
In order.
things. Okay, so you can see how. So now I'm gonna paraphrase for you. When you don't take out the garbage, I feel angry because I have a need for, cleanliness or whatever it is. I have a need for the whatchamacallit. Hold on to here for a second. Because I am in need of respect, right? Something along those lines. Because I, what was yours again, Mom?
Eye contact.
Oh yeah, when you don't give me eye contact or provide me with eye contact, I feel upset because I am in need of connection.
Mhm.
Very, very simple. Now imagine saying that compared to what?
Oh, just, I mean.
You don't listen to me.
You don't listen to me, you don't pay
Yeah,
freaking
right?
attention to me. Any of
But
those
you
things.
hear what she's
Oh, yeah,
stating.
no.
She's doing an
If you come
observation.
if you come across calm or more direct, the people understand.
It's very
You
direct.
get attacked.
That's
I don't
the-
like getting attacked.
Yeah.
I get attacked, then I put up my guard, and I get all attacked back.
This is something
so.
that you can use in work.
Oh, yeah. Oh, with the customers? No.
I swear.
No, I know.
No, really. And we can use it in every
Oh, yeah.
framework.
But it would be wrong if we say, what was the example?
Eye contact.
Well, how did it start? I have a.
When you
When
don't,
you don't give me eye contact while I'm speaking, I feel angry because I have a need in me to be, to have, what's it
Connection.
called? Connection with you. No, I wanna say it in a way like, I'm judging the other person's love, or like, I have a need in me to be loved by you, or.
so
That's-
you would never
do
put,
that,
you would
though.
never put with you on that.
Yeah.
Why? Because then it makes it case dependent upon that person for them to provide that for you. She has a need for connection, so she says, when you don't give me eye contact or provide me with eye contact, when I am speaking with you and I don't have eye contact, I feel upset because I need connection.
Yeah.
That's it.
But she can't
Not
say,
not
"I
with
need-
you,
I need
because with
connection,"
you
or-
would then make it dependent upon him.
Or if
This is
say-
something that she actually has addressed as a need in her, bar none. Because if she talks to me and I do this, yep, just keep talking. She's gonna get angry, upset.
Yeah.
So,
Well, yeah.
there's an important piece here, that is that this way that you choose to communicate has nothing to do with provoking a reply.
Yes,
Yes.
That
absolutely.
satisfies
Right.
you.
And,
Yes.
It's
and
how you get to communicate your need.
Without.
You have it for yourself.
Yes.
You have it out here,
Yeah.
and you remain consistent and true to
Right.
your need in the way that you communicate. And
Mhm.
however it goes, it goes.
Yep.
It may not go great.
Yep.
It may go neutral,
Right.
and it may go wonderfully.
Yeah.
Yep.
But you've had the opportunity to be responsible
Yeah.
for the way in which you communicate
Mhm.
your need, and
Yeah.
that,
You
Yeah.
can't say I have a need in me to feel loved by you. I have a need in me to be loved.
Yes, but then you gotta define what is about
Yeah,
love.
I mean,
for you.
what is the feeling
Mhm.
behind it? Yeah.
Absolutely. So now, I'm gonna tie it in at the end, okay? So example, I feel angry when you say that because I am wanting respect and I hear your words as an insult. Okay, imagine replying that when you get into an argument. I feel angry when you say that because I am wanting respect and I hear your words as an insult. There's no judgment in there. There's no, you're an idiot, you're this, you're that, name calling, etc. Because in nonviolent communication, there is actually no such thing as curse words.
Mhm.
They're just words that people are expressing when they are not saying please or thank you.
yeah, and that first one
Mhm.
might provoke a defense,
Yes.
because people are not conditioned.
I'll
We're not
Yeah,
conditioned.
I'll show
Being
you.
spoken to
I
in
have
that
a link. I
way.
have a thing on here when that is occurring. How you can
Mhm.
mitigate that. I am sad that you won't be coming for dinner because I was hoping we could spend the evening together. Oh, you always bail out on me. You know, it's like it's a judgment. Yeah, you're right. You know, I feel scared when you raise your voice. Okay. Thank you for telling me. When you raise your voice, I feel scared because I am telling now the connection. When you raise your voice, I feel scared because I'm telling myself someone might get hurt here, and I need to know that we're all safe. Right? Someone, I'm just using you as an example. I feel upset when you don't reply to my email because I'm wanting respect and I work on a time frame that needs to be met. You know what I'm saying? Like in an email, it would work perfect too. Because then someone is like, oh, he's this person or myself or her. They're not saying, hey, I need this done. You know, you got to do it. You want them to do it like as if the child was in a field of lilies and they were just so happy doing it. That's the way in which we want that person to do it. Not because they're fearing disapproval or approval or gaining approval. I am grateful that you offered me a ride because I was needing to get home before my children. Wow. Some basic needs we all share. Autonomy, choice, freedom, independence, spontaneity, connection, right? Physical well-being, air, food, movement, exercise. When you when you show up late, I feel angry because I have a need for making it to the gym on time to exercise. See the difference? Like, you always show up late, I can't get to the gym now. Then just argument ensues and it's not. Hey, when you show up late, I feel angry because I won't be able to get to the gym on time. And then we started moving closer and closer to a request. Okay? Play, spiritual, communion, joy, humor. I have a need for joy. I have a need for growth. I have a need for learning. Imagine you were in a relationship with somebody and like, yeah, this isn't working out. I have a need for growth. Like, what? Okay. So, requesting. Okay? Now it all comes in. Okay? Let me see what my next slide is. Oh, it's on there. Sorry. So, 4 components. Observe, feelings, needs, requests. What did you do that doesn't bring joy into my life? Or what did you say? What did I hear, observe, right? How do I feel? What need is not being addressed as a result of my feelings? And now I want to request. So you're going to make a specific, clear request. You're going to request of the other person what you would like them to do to make life more wonderful for you. Use positive action language. So I have an example. A mother that wants her daughter to clean up her room, right? So Marshall goes, What need of yours is not met when your daughter has the room in the state it is? Well, I think if my family member is going to be a family member, each one has to contribute. Did you hear what his question was? What need of yours is not met when your daughter has the room in the state
She
it
didn't
is?
answer the question.
We do this all the time, and I want you to be very, very clear on that. When your need or when your question is not met, repeat it, repeat it, repeat it. For example, if I say to you, what is it that you want to accomplish in the gym, right? Well, I really gotta, work on my car and et cetera. It's like, no. Did you hear what? I want to know exactly what it is that you would like it to accomplish here. I appreciate you letting me know about things outside, but I really like to know what you want to accomplish here. Whereas most of the time, we don't do that. We then jump on because we didn't hear what they were saying. We think that they weren't listening. No. They might not have heard what you think they heard. They heard something different. They really did. People are hearing things differently. When you're telling someone to take out the garbage, he's hearing a demand, or she. Or when I'm hearing the dishes, let's just say, I'm hearing, a demand, a request, right? So now when we go to a request, we have to use positive action. So I'll go back to the beginning. What need of yours is not met when your daughter has the room in the state it is? Well, I think of a family member, the mother speaking, if I think if a family member is going to be a family member, each one has to contribute. Marshall, wait a minute, hold it. Saying what you think is a distorted expression of a need. If you want your daughter to see the beauty in your request, she needs to see how life will be made more wonderful if she does what you were asking. So what is your need? What do you need that isn't being met? Mother, I don't know. And then he wrote, okay. I wasn't surprised to hear that response. We don't develop much of a vocabulary of needs. We're not made to believe. We're not made to think in this way. We all weren't educated like this. I was not educated like this. If you went to school on Long Island or anywhere in California, we are not made to think like this. We are made to think in this way. You know what? They don't respect our nation, our culture. We're going to teach them. What language is that? Jackal language, right? Giraffe language is what need in them is not being met, and why are they expressing it in this such way, right? Everybody, again, is saying a please or a thank you to, right? So, how can we make a clear request when we're not clear about our needs? The mother then became conscious that two needs of her were involved in this. Her need for order and beauty, and her need for support. Okay, let's get to your request, and let's express it in a positive action language. Say to your daughter what you do want. Well, I want her to clean up her room. Okay? What does clean up your room mean to you? To me and her, it means two different things.
Yeah.
That's why it's so important. You got to talk about this stuff. What clean means for you and what clean means for you is probably totally different.
What does it mean for you? I'm curious.
For me, it's like things are off the floor. I don't know. That's just the thought I have. But it's so funny because if you actually have this conversation with your spouse, you guys will end up laughing because you're like, oh my God, we just have different ideas of it, and it's okay. Just get to know what that is, right? So we have to use action language. Clean is too vague, right? So what did she say? She said, I want you to put your clothes in their drawer. Done. I would like you to put your clothes in your drawer. Okay? So positive action language, that's what we have to use. Would you be willing to? Would you be willing to? Okay? So if you follow that framework, then it becomes when you don't do the dishes, when you don't do the dishes, I feel angry because I have a need for order and beauty. Would you be willing to do them? Would you be willing to clean the dishes? Do you see that request? It's like, oh my God, I would love to do that. If I make you feel
I
angry
actually tried
and
that.
order
It works.
and beauty.
So I have a question. It works, so she said it works?
Yeah.
And what does that mean?
If the action, so I'll tell you,
Good.
if the action is done, okay, give me a second. I have two words on it. We're skipping ahead. If the action gets done, I have it on the next slide. If the action is done in a way that enriches the person's life, because it's fulfilling what is alive in the other person, it was an action that was done non-violently.
Fulfilling which person's life?
Both. It has to be. Because in this state, there is no, you did it because I told you so and I feel better. There's none of that. Because if there is, then we're not speaking non-violently, we're speaking violently. Right?
There's no like, oh, I'm gonna do the dishes.
So I'll give you-
because I don't
I'll give you some
wanna
examples.
complain about it, you know?
Please.
Right, but also then possibly he might say, I don't wanna honor that, I don't feel fulfilled by doing that.
For sure.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
I'll talk about that when you're met with that. Okay. So just giving you an example of a request. Please do not shout in this room. That sounds like a jackal. Because why? Shout.
Thank you.
Yeah. Please talk in a low voice in this room. Okay. I want you to stop drinking. Okay. I want you to tell me what needs of yours are met by drinking and to discuss with me other ways of meeting those needs. Wow. Imagine if somebody spoke to someone who was abusing alcohol. Hey, I want you to express to me what needs are not being met by drinking and engaging in this activity. I want to know what needs of yours aren't being met that you come home frustrated from work. Wow. Hey, I want to know what needs of yours aren't being met when I see you angry with the children. Wow. Yeah, yeah. I want
Instead of,
and instead of saying, why are you pissed off?
you're always angry.
I laugh about it because when we do get into arguments, right? We're like, what are we really talking about? We always laugh. And we're like, I just want you to, I just want you to, would you be willing to do it? And I'm like, not right now. I'm like, how about in 5 minutes? Okay. Yeah, but we make, but it's actually a conversation compared to, screaming match, right?
Yeah.
So, I wanted to say, I want you to understand me. Understand is vague. I want you to tell me what you heard me say. I'd like you to tell me one thing that I did that you appreciate. I would like you to drive in a better way. Better. I would like you to drive at or below the speed limit. Clear, concise. I'd like you to be honest with me about yesterday's meeting. Honest? I don't know what that means. I want you to tell me how you feel about what I did and what you'd like me to do differently. Z does this to me every time I do a presentation. She's too honest. No, I'm kidding.
What can
That's
I
my
do?
judgment. I would like you to show respect for my privacy. I'd like you to agree to knock before you enter my office, my room. Give me a second, I just want to make sure I get this. How do you know that we are educating ourselves in a violent way? So, this I put in here because I want you to be aware that if you are educating yourselves in a violent way, or educating the other person, because when we speak, we're educating, this is going to result in us feeling guilt, shame, or depression as a result of us engaging in activity. Let's face it, when we do yell, or we do speak violently, doesn't have to be curse words, just violently that isn't non-violent, right? There is something you start to feel, you're like, I shouldn't have really said that. You know, I should probably say sorry. Yeah, the minute you start to feel that, the guilt, you did speak violently. It's okay, but we just have to understand how to regain that non-violent nature so that we can start to mend whatever we've sowed in a way. Okay? Sorry. That's what I have to do. So when we're tying it all together, I'm just gonna do a couple of these before you guys leave. Your dog just made a mess on my lawn. That's what someone would say, right? Your dog made a mess on my lawn. Made a mess is a very vague topic. How about this? When I see your dog leaving poop on the lawn, I feel upset. We have kids who play here, and I want the yard to be safe, clean, clean for them. Would you be willing to use this plastic bag to remove them? Wow. I'll give you an example. I was on the road, and I had just started reading about this. Then I did a one-on-one seminar with a guy on this, and I probably have told a bunch of people about this. Somebody cut me off, like royally cut me off on the road. And when that happens, you're like in a fight or flight mode, right? So what did I do? I drove, did I tell you this? No, maybe. I told you this.
I have no clue.
Oh,
Go ahead.
I drove so fast right up next door to the guy, and I pull my window down, and the guy opens up his window, and I literally wanted to just curse the guy out, right? So I said, do you know what you just did? I said, you almost hit my car, and I'd really appreciate it. I'm not even kidding. I'm not even kidding you. And I said, I'd really appreciate it if you would drive more careful. And I saw his daughter in the back. I said, what if it was your daughter driving this car and she, God forbid, crashed in the back of your car? The guy actually said, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean it. And when I closed the window, my heart rate was like through the freaking roof. I was like, oh my God, I gotta come down from this high. Because I wanted to like just scream and curse the guy out, like honestly. But it was such an experience that I'm like, wow, how you speak to other people is so important. And if the only thing we have as a species is communication, we are the worst communicators out of them all. So it was just amazing. By putting your money in mutual funds, you are just supporting guns, tobacco, and sweatshops and all the things we're trying to change. Judgments all around. When I hear you have put your money in mutual funds, I feel dejected because I'd like to see us put our resources into what we value rather than to support guns, tobacco, and sweatshops. Would you be willing to tell me what you are feeling when you hear me say this? Would you be willing to hear me, tell me what you hear when I say this? Okay. So, receiving praise or gratitude. Okay, so, hold on, I want to address,
Yeah, because that's really important.
yeah. Oh, I thought I had it. Yeah, so the basis of that, I'm just going to address this one thing.
If you want, you could give the example you gave me one time about a person who said that they want to go out and they said they don't have time, and then they said to meet out or something.
No, I don't think that's the example. So you brought up a good example, which was, how do you know that the person is doing, was that sort of it? Can you repeat it one more time? How do you know that the request?
Like they're willingly honoring the request.
So the way in which you know if they're willingly honoring their request is if they do it with the joy of a child. Yes, that's what I wanted to clarify. If they're willingly doing it
What
with...
if they say no? So that's what we want to, how do you actually, you know?
Yeah. So if you're receiving a negative message, right? That's I think
Yeah.
that was what we're getting to. Okay. So when someone gives us a negative message, whether verbally or non-verbally, we have four options on where to receive it. Okay. Like for instance, you are the most self-centered person I've ever met. 1, choose to take it personally, accept the other person's judgment, and blame ourselves. Guilt, shame, and depression. That's one way. Okay. I'm not saying it's the right way. Oh, I should have been more sensitive. 2, blame the speaker. Again, Jackal Language. You have no right to say that. I'm always considering your needs. You're the one who's really self-centered. Awesome. 3, shine the light of consciousness on our own feelings and needs. When I hear you saying that I'm the most self-centered person you ever met, I feel hurt because I need some recognition of my efforts to be considerate of your preferences. Damn. Can you imagine somebody saying that if they responded with that? You'd be like, wow, I didn't realize. Shine the light of consciousness on the other person's feelings and needs as they are currently expressed. So which 2 do you think are the more important ones? These 2, right?
Mm.
Are you feeling the way you're feeling because you believe I'm not considerate of your needs? Right? I'll give Mike the example. Mike's example, like the hair. So if someone gives you a comment about your hair that you feel is negative because you have a need to feel confident, right? How do you? I guess I would say it in this way. Would you be willing to give a compliment that is uplifting of myself rather than degrading, because I am in need of confidence for my haircut and things like that. Yeah, I mean, I know it sounds kind of odd to say.
Yeah. Long.
But also like this is something too, right? I'll give you another example, okay? And I know we're finishing up. This is like the last 2 things I'll say. When people do give us those compliments, both parties have to be willing to have a nonviolent communication, right? Has to happen, okay? So in this example, right, if Mike has received a common, right? I'll give you another example that's relevant to this. So Marshall Rosenberg, his son, went to a school that was a Jackal school. And he calls Jackal schools because they're, you're wrong, you did this wrong, you didn't do your homework. He's walking in school and he said his son had long hair. I'll give you an example. One of the teachers walking in goes, "Hey, it looks like we got a new girl in school." And the teacher said this, right? And so anyway, comes home, tells his dad the story. He goes, "Son, what happened?" He goes, "Well, there was a teacher today, I was walking into school, and the teacher said, 'Looks like we got a new girl in school.'" And he goes, "Oh, well, how'd that make you feel?" And he goes, "Well, it made me feel a little sad, and then I just put my giraffe ears on, and I heard a need that wasn't being met." Do you hear what I'm saying? So when someone is approaching and saying something, there may be a need that isn't being met in that person, okay? That's why I was saying it's kind of tough to speak to someone like that and request something if they're not willing to have a nonviolent communication. So the son
identified some need in the teacher.
So I'll tell you, yeah. So I'm
that
getting it.
wasn't being met.
Yep.
And had the teacher say the comment.
Exactly. So the son goes, "Yeah, I put on my giraffe ears, and I just heard that there was a need being met, not being met from the teacher." And he goes, "Well, son, what was the need?" He goes, "The teacher was bald."
Wait, did you have this on something? 'Cause I read that.
Really?
Did you have it on? I read that. read
Maybe
the
I
same
told you
thing.
that. Maybe I told you that story.
No, I read it.
Okay.
I didn't.
So but you see the example, right? The son, now he could have reacted violently, right, and said, "Screw you," or something like that. But he just said, "You know what? I'm just going to ignore it."
At least I'm not bald.
But you see, like,
Which would have been a Jackal
yeah,
response.
which would have been a
But
Jackal.
the kid created for himself.
Yes.
Out of his commitment to communicate nonviolently.
Yes.
A compassionate expression
Yes.
of what he believes could be there.
Yes.
For the
Exactly.
teacher.
Yep. Exactly. So that's why I was saying for the example, it's like when someone does make that, it's really an indication of a need or feeling that is not being met by that person. So it's very tough, and you just have to hear a need not being met or feeling being unmet as well.
But like you were saying.
Yes,
the
tell me.
person needs to want to negotiate. they
If
want-
you're engaging with somebody who's talking about nonviolent communication in this framework, right? So when you have this framework, right? So you can take a look at it.
Well,
Right.
so it wouldn't have worked.
That wouldn't have worked with the teacher because that was not
Because there's no agreement.
No, not at all. Here, this you can take home and just look at it with somebody and discuss it with somebody. Really, and I want you to, like, it's important. It's so simple, and you cannot be the person who's going to judge that other person either. Because they don't understand it, that's the root of all of our problems. Because they don't understand it and you may have a better understanding of it now, great. Now it's your job to then allow them to understand it even more, that wherever their level is, and say, I want to learn this with you, and I want to express ourselves, or myself, better, so we can communicate better and live more harmoniously. Imagine if you said, I want to live more harmoniously with you. Wow, really? Can we do it now? So, clearly express how I'm feeling. So again, observations, feelings, needs, and requests. So, what I observe, see, hear, remember, imagine, free from my evaluations, that does not contribute to my well-being. So when I see blank, when you don't blank, when you do this, when you show up late, okay? Feelings, how I feel. When you do blank, I feel. When you do blank, I feel because I value blank, because I need blank, because I need more of blank. Would you be willing to take out the garbage? Would you be willing to provide me with eye contact? Would you be willing, Tiffany, I don't know why you're like, to put 12 items instead of 13? So, to wrap up, I'm just going to say here. The goal of nonviolent communication, I'll just finish with this, is that nonviolent communication guides us in reframing how we express ourselves and hear others. Instead of being habitual, automatic reactions, our words become conscious responses based firmly on an awareness of what we are perceiving, feeling, and wanting. We're led to express ourselves with honesty and clarity while simultaneously paying others a respectful and emphatic attention. In any exchange we come to hear, our own deeper needs and those of others. So every time that you are in a conversation, I want you to be very, very conscious of what that need in that other person, right? The person who says, I don't want to talk. What do they really want? Connection, right? Oh, you make me so angry. Well, what need do you have that I'm not meeting that's creating anger? I feel so sad. What feeling or need do you have that I am not meeting that I can help with? Again, we can just, if we only do those two things and we start to communicate better with the observations, the feeling, the need, and being able to make a clear request, that will be the end to all of our problems. We won't worry about anything anymore. We'll live more harmoniously. Thank you guys for coming.
Thank you.